Water for Elephants, the musical, is at the Dr. Phillips Center now through Sunday. I'm New Six producer Brooke Savage. I have Zachary Keller, who plays Jacob in the show, and I have Helen Krasinski, who plays Marlena. They are both here to tell us all about it. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
So first off, tell us, what can people expect from this show?
Yeah, I think it's a show that really has something for everyone. It's got acrobats flying overhead. It's got amazing dance numbers. There's obviously some singing in there. There's some acting. We get to do some trapeze work. So it's got something for everyone. I think it's also a story that anyone can really identify with.
I did notice that you both were not just singing and acting and dancing. You were doing some trapeze work. And it made me wonder, did you learn this for the show, or do you have this background already?
Yeah, we neither of us had any trapeze work before starting this process, and we start small. We started with the trapeze about 2 feet off the ground, and then eventually got to the height that it is at now. And it was intimidating, very intimidating at first, but luckily I had my ballet training to rely on in order for to get some of the lines. But other than that, it was all new.
I also did ballet growing up, and when I saw you up in the air, I was like, oh, I wonder if she's a ballerina as well. So that is really cool to hear.
Yeah, thank you.
And so what does it take to be in this show? Okay, I saw a lot of people who were definitely in shape, and there's a lot of hard work that goes into being the show.
Yeah, it's interesting because we have people that have a lot of different sorts of skill sets. So when you look at the acrobats, they all have different specialties almost. So we have some that are more aerialists. We have some that are it's called hand-to-hand. So they have to have a certain set of skills to be able to really do that sort of track. But we also have some amazing dancers too. I know I, for a fact, could not do some of those dance numbers, but we have some really skilled people, a part of our crew here. And I think when it comes to us, it's we had to learn a lot of the skills, like we were talking about the trapeze. It took a lot of learning how to do, be really good at pull-ups and that sort of thing. So it takes a lot of different skills in order to do this kind of show.
Do you guys have to, I'm assuming you have to do things outside of the show to be able to do all the physical things you're doing during the show, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I would say, aside from working out and eating well and making sure you have enough sustenance, sleep is the number one thing. And it's really hard to get that at the end of the night when you're all amped from the end of the show and you just want to hang out with people. But yeah, you have to make sure you get your sleep in, or it is really hard to do the schedule.
Yeah. And I think for me, it's sleep is a big thing. It's hard when you're going from hotel room to hotel room, but you kind of learn how to adapt and you learn how to make the space work for you. I think also too, there's a number in Act 2 for me called The Dream, where it's very intense. I have to sprint for 30 seconds and then go right back to singing, and then sing while hanging from a trapeze. And so how I did that is I worked with my vocal coach, and I sort of had to train. She called it Taylor Swifting it. So I would sing the song while running on the treadmill, and then I would go and I would hang from a pull-up bar while singing to kind of prep my body in order to be able to bring my heart rate back down, as well as be able to have the strength to kind of just hang there and sing.
Wow, I never thought about that, because not going to lie, when I was watching the show, I was like, okay, they're sprinting, now they're dancing and singing. Aren't they exhausted from all that sprinting? I think someone carries you off the stage very quickly at one point.
Yeah, I fall back right after you've just done your sprinting, but he makes it look so easy, everything that you have to do, and I know so you can tell a lot of work has gone into what you have to do, because you make it look so easy up there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Absolutely, because it's not just, the acrobatics and all the hard work. You also have to make it look effortless.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the hard part right there. I think that actually the hardest part is the puppetry, is making that look effortless. We have to, we always talk about how it's easy when you're trying to animate the puppet, but our puppet director, Joshua Holden, has worked with us, and he really has helped us make us realize that the hardest part is actually just making it breathe in the still moments. And so that's been sort of an interesting thing to kind of learn how to do.
That is really interesting. And I also was even paying attention to the train scene where you all had to sway, you know, in the same movements at the same time for a very long time.
Yes.
All while like doing your scenes and everything. So that is really incredible.
Yeah.
So what is the main message you hope people take from this show, especially since there's so much symbolism in it?
Yeah, you know, I think I'll talk about, you know, what the show's about. It's about a young man, Jacob Jankowski, who I play, who after he loses everything that matters most in the world, he decides to hop on a train, and he comes to find out that it's a traveling circus. And so, you know, I think it's really a story about grief and loss, and there's a love story baked in there, chosen family, and I think our director, Jessica Stone, says it best, is the question that it asks is, who are you when you lose everything? And I think that's like I said earlier, that's a story that anyone can really identify with.
That is I never thought of it that way. I really like that. What is your favorite part of the show?
Oh my gosh, so many. One of my favorite parts is Zostan, the big dance number, because that's really the first and only big dance number I get to be a part of. And it's just nice to be with the entire cast and, you know, celebrating Rosie and being all together. It's a really nice moment. It's my favorite part.
You know, I was fortunate enough to actually see the show when it was on Broadway, and my favorite number then is still my favorite number now. It's actually become even more so my favorite number, and that is Easy, the number that Helen here sings. Not only is Helen, I mean, her voice is beautiful, especially on that song, and not only do you get that, but you also have Eve, who plays Silver Star, the horse, is doing some aerial work as she's singing, and so it's this beautiful moment that you know, our circus choreographer Shayna, she came up with in conjunction with our director Jessica Stone. And it's also, I will say, it's a moment for me to rest because I'm on stage a lot, so it's a good moment to just kind of sit back and get to, you know, watch the show for a second.
Those are both really good scenes. I remember them very well. I did like having everyone together, though, too, because there was so much to look at. I'm like, am I supposed to be looking at the acrobatics? Wait, no, I'm supposed to be paying attention to what the song you're singing and what that's saying. Oh, wait, this person has a great facial expression over here. There's so much going on. It was really cool to see.
Oh,
thank you.
Well, so what made you guys want to audition for this show, especially since it's more than just singing and dancing?
Yeah, I loved it when it was on Broadway, and when the audition for the tour came around, I was super excited, and I was really ready for it, I think. I don't think I've really ever felt ready to be on tour. I graduated in 2022, had been in the city for a few years, and when this came along, I had a feeling. It just felt like it was right. It felt like it was mine.
Yeah, and for me, I'm really drawn to a lot of aspects of it, but I really love the style of music, that kind of folk pop sort of feel. Pigpen Theater Co., they did the score for it, and it's just beautiful. It's like a soaring score, and I think I really enjoyed being able to find the different colors, because Pigpen Theater Co., there's I think 7 members in the group, and so a lot of the songs have a different sort of feel to us, a different sort of color, and getting to kind of access those different parts has been really cool and something that drew me to it.
I agree. I did like the score. I think one of my favorite songs, and I don't know why, is the song about the squeaky wheel.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Maybe it's just because it reminds me of those old-timey Broadway songs, you know?
Yeah, it's got that jazz feel to it. Yeah.
Well, okay, so like I said, there's a lot going on stage. What is going on behind the scenes? Do you have any behind-the-scenes tidbits to share with us?
I feel like everyone's always laughing. I mean, they really put a great group of people together, and you know, it's tough having to do 8 shows and then traveling on your day off, but I think we're all in this together, and you really do feel like that. Yeah.
You know, I think it's moments like we'll visit each other's dressing rooms and we'll, you know, hang out for a little bit. You know, I think it's a show about chosen family, and I think that's what we've really found on tour is this this group of people that we really just all really get along really well. And we have like certain bits that we do at certain points during the show that kind of have become sort of a routine of sorts. And it makes the show a lot more enjoyable too.
Wow. There must be a ton of costume changes too. I mean, I saw you change costumes like in 1 second. Like you went off stage and all of a sudden you're in a different costume.
Yeah, shout out to all the wardrobe, all my dressers I mean, it is so much. I mean, I'm changing on stage. I'm sure, as you saw behind the curtain, I go off stage for 10 seconds. I'm in a new costume for maybe 30 seconds on stage, and it's just it's amazing how everyone is able to get me in the correct clothing at the right time. I mean, everyone's really awesome.
Wow. So tell us a little bit about where you're from and how you got into acting.
Yeah, so I'm from the Chicago suburbs. How I got into acting, I have 3 older siblings, so naturally I just did whatever they did. And so my brother had been doing some shows, and so I decided, okay, I'll try this out. We used to put together shows for my parents. And I ended up auditioning for a touring production of Chitty Chitty Bang Bang when I was a kid, back in like 2009. And that's actually how I got introduced to my agent. And so I started auditioning and doing theater in the Chicago area growing up, like the regional theater scene there. And then eventually went to school at Ball State for musical theater. And from there, the rest is kind of history. Eventually moved to New York,
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I'm from Pittsburgh, and I started doing ballet at 4, and my mom was in musical theater. She was also an actor, and I grew up doing her musicals in her studio, but I think what really hooked me was watching her direct local high school productions. I really fell in love as a little kid with the process and just watching everyone in rehearsal and be like, oh my God, that's so cool. You get to just do something really fun with your best friends. And I think, I ended up going to University of Michigan, and I think some of my favorite parts about doing musical theater are forming the relationships off stage and having something even more magical happen on stage because of it.
Absolutely. It's like one big group project. And then I hear when you're on stage, it's kind of like you're laying everything out there, like getting a lot off your chest and everything, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it. And we were actually talking the other night, like it's fun as you do the show. You sort of identify other things that you can play with, other things that you can interact with. We've all of a sudden realized that like certain characters are on stage with you, and you can, play with that and interact with that. And I feel like you start to carve out these details more and more, which is such a fun part about it.
Yeah, it only gets more real.
Yeah.
And the audience can see the details for sure, because like I was mentioning, there's a lot of facial expressions. I remember looking at one actor during one song. I just saw him reacting to himself. Wow, okay, and I thought that was so funny. Yeah, the facial expressions are really good in this show.
I think I can't remember if we were talking about it. I think we were. When you're on stage doing something like that, it feels like you're doing it for yourself, but then you do realize you're like, someone's probably looking at what I'm doing right now. Someone's probably clocking that. So it's nice to hear that people are.
Yeah, exactly. Well, also, I just want to bring this up a little bit because you mentioned your background in acting. And when it came to auditioning for the show, it did not scare you or overwhelm you that you had to do some trapeze work or anything like that?
I don't really think I thought about it. I'm going to be honest. Yeah. I think it just excited me getting to do something new. And I realized it during this process, you don't really get to, unless you choose to, you don't really have to learn very many new skills as an adult. And so learning something new that I had never done before, never even thought about doing before, was terrifying, but also so exciting. So cool. I felt like a little kid learning how to do it.
Yeah. They did ask us in the audition, are you afraid of heights? And, I'm not personally afraid of heights. So I was like, no, not at all. But I imagine that some people were like, no, not at all, but...
I know, you guys go up really high. You're upside down at one point.
Yeah.
I took acrobatics growing up, and I learned when I got older doing it, I was too scared to go for it because I was afraid I was going to get hurt. So you guys are really brave for jumping into that.
Yeah. Well, thank God he's standing there while I'm up top in case, he catches me
Yes.
most of the
Right.
time.
Exactly.
So.
I was wondering that. Yeah, I was like, I wonder if he's there for support. You know what I mean?
Just moral support.
Just moral
That's it.
support.
That's it.
I'm just like, I just need you to be there. Yeah. Honestly, the scariest part of the show for me is falling from that. I don't know if you remember seeing I fall backwards.
Yes.
In the dream. I cried the day that I had to do that. Because I was like, why is the trapeze less scary than this? It was really intimidating. But just like the show, someone's always going to catch you.
Is there any are there any mats there? Like,
we had mats.
Yeah,
training.
at the beginning, yes, but no longer. I mean, you really just, especially in that part, I imagine you just put your faith in the acrobats. I mean, they've been doing this for years. They're trained to do it. So you really just have to put your trust in them. I mean, I get lifted by two of the acrobats at one point, and it's just it's an amazing feat to me that they're able to lift me. Like, one guy is basically lifting me above his head, and so that took a lot of time, and sometimes we still struggle with it, and that's usually because of me. But it's, you really just have to put your faith in them and just trust that it's going to be okay. Because as soon as you start to lose that faith, then that's where you actually kind of get into this gray area where you can kind of get hurt.
I noticed that a lot of productions have a dance captain. Is there some sort of like acrobatic captain? Because I did notice one guy who was there a lot, like doing a lot of the supportive stuff.
Yeah, there's also an acrobat captain. I was just actually thinking about the fact that he's constantly checking on everyone.
Yeah, we have two acrobat captains, Marina and Fran, and so yeah, they're always, we do like a lift call at the beginning of each show, a fight call as well. They're not a part of that, but yeah, so it's always to check in, see if there's anything that we need to modify or change, and so I feel like what acrobats are great about is adapting.
So when you say call, does that mean you go over the movements like before the show? You do it?
Yeah.
Yep, that's right. So a lot of times, like with the lift that I do, we don't always have it before the show, but if we're like sort of noticing that it's been a little iffy recently, we might add it to the call so that we can just have some reps with it before we do the show itself.
It's also helpful if, the day before, like at least for me a couple of times after I fall to the ground, it's felt a little odd, and I'll bring that up to Andrew, our fight captain, who's from Orlando. Shout out, Andrew. And yeah, I'll say, this felt a little weird yesterday. Like, how can you help me fix that? What can I do? Yeah.
Well, it is good to know who's from Central Florida, and I did notice the Central Florida shout out in the show too. That was really cool.
Yeah.
Well, then we got a great response from that, so that was nice.
Yeah, trust me, when you have a show in Orlando and you give a shout out to Orlando, people are gonna clap about it and cheer for it.
That's good. That's the goal.
Yeah. Okay. Well, what feedback have you gotten from the show? Have you met any fans afterwards or anything like that?
We haven't met many fans, but I will say, like, the audience last night was incredible. I mean, there was so much like immediate direct feedback right there, which is not always the case. From city to city, you kind of, certain audiences connect with certain parts of the show that other audiences don't. And that's a really interesting part about it, is to see, okay, this audience really responds to the emotional part of it. This audience sort of responds to the entertainment factor of it. And I will say, it seemed like Orlando was just in for it all.
Yeah. It is interesting. I did notice, like, people especially cheered whenever the acrobats did something very dangerous and pulled it off. Because sometimes, you'll go to Disney and they'll do that and no one will really cheer. And I'm like, wow, they probably worked really hard to make that happen. And no one's impressed, I guess. But that's really cool to hear.
Yeah.
So is there anything else you want to bring up about the show?
I would say get your tickets.
Get your tickets. There's something for everyone, and I feel like, I don't know, you feel hopeful walking away from it.
Yeah, it's a show about, like, it has a lot of heart to it, and it has something for everyone. There's acrobats, dancing, singing. If you are into any of that, any aspect of that, I think it's worth seeing.
Absolutely. I do love the hopeful message at the end for sure. Well, again, I posted everything you need to know about Water for Elephants, the musical, at the Dr. Phillips Center on clickorlando.com/setting the stage. In the podcast studio, Brooke Savage, News 6.